Imagine being stranded in the middle of the pitch-black African wilderness at 2 a.m. Your truck is dead. Your radio is completely silent. And slowly emerging from the absolute darkness is a creature so massive and so impossible that just making eye contact with it curses your entire bloodline forever. What I am about to share with you today is not an urban legend. It is a verified, terrifying reality that completely destroyed a woman's life. So, turn off the lights, sit back, and welcome to another episode of Horror Night. The story I'm about to tell you is going to seriously mess with your head. When I first read this, my jaw literally dropped. It defies all logic. And honestly, it's absolute nightmare fuel. Let's just get straight into it. This bizarre event was sent in by one of our listeners named Paul. He actually got this story from his coworker, a woman named Daisy. But the person who actually lived through this nightmare, that is another woman they work with. We'll call her Jenny. Jenny is originally from Kenya. Now, according to Daisy, Jenny is one of those people who just always has this incredibly heavy, dark cloud hanging over her. She's super quiet, constantly looks depressed, and she really isolates herself. At first, Daisy figured, maybe it's just a cultural thing, or maybe she's just a deeply introverted person who doesn't like joking around or smiling at work. Now, the owner of their company has a son who goes to college over in England. He drops by the office maybe once or twice a month, and whenever he's around, he always makes sure to go out of his way to talk to Jenny. The only reason for this is that Jenny originally got hired through a personal reference to the owner, so the son always checks in on her. One evening, the office was closing up. Most of the staff had already packed up and gone home. It was just Daisy, Jenny, another coworker named Syed, and the boss's son. They were all just sitting around, shooting the breeze. Because the boss's son is young and super chill, there was no strict professional vibe. Everyone felt totally comfortable just hanging out, talking about life. Nothing work-related. And out of nowhere, right in the middle of this casual hangout, Jenny starts talking. She starts telling a story. And at first, nobody in that room had any idea they were about to hear one of the most terrifying paranormal events imaginable. Jenny explained that long before she moved to the US, back when she lived in Kenya, she was a wildlife vet. She lived in a place called Sangai and worked for an NGO called KAA. Daisy mentioned she didn't exactly know what the letters stood for, but it was a strictly contract-based organization. Back in 1997, Jenny signed a 10-year contract to work out in the wild as a veterinarian. Now, if you know anything about Kenya, you've probably heard of the Great Migration. We are talking about literally millions of wildebeests and zebras migrating across the Serengeti and the Maasai Mara. It is a massive, chaotic natural event. But here's the dark side of it. During this exact time, it's also breeding season for apex predators, like lions. With millions of giant animals stampeding across the plains, a lot of baby animals, especially little lion cubs, get trampled and severely injured. That was Jenny's job. She ran a 4-person team. They would drive out into the wilderness in a rugged patrol truck, track down injured animals, shoot them with a tranquilizer dart, and safely relocate them to treat their wounds. Fast forward to the year 1999. It was the absolute peak of the migration season. Jenny and her 3 team members were out on a night patrol. It was around 2 a.m., dead of night. pitch black. They were driving slowly along the edge of a completely dried-up riverbed. Suddenly, something caught their eye. Right there, right in the middle of the dry river, there was this strange, glowing white aura. Curious and totally unaware of the danger, the four of them parked the truck, got out, and started walking down toward the light. But as they got closer, what they saw completely shattered their reality. They could not believe their own eyes. There was a massive gathering of animals, but they weren't acting normal. They were sitting in a perfect formation, almost like a royal court holding a secret midnight meeting. Listen to this lineup. There were lions, cheetahs, hyenas, massive elephants, buffaloes, rhinos, deer, even giant scavenger birds like vultures and eagles, all of them, together. Natural enemies, sitting side by side, completely peaceful. No one was attacking anyone. And the craziest part, everywhere else around them was pitch black. But that specific spot was lit up like broad daylight. Jenny and her team just stood there, frozen, staring at each other like, what in the world are we looking at? And right at that moment, an ear-piercing roar ripped through the air. Jenny said it didn't sound like one lion. It sounded like 15 to 20 lions roaring at the exact same time. The sound was so physically powerful that the ground beneath their feet started violently shaking, like a literal earthquake. Then, they saw it. From the darkest part of the riverbed, a blindingly white light started moving toward them. Panic set in. The team tried to run back to the truck, but the truck was dead. The engine wouldn't start. And worse, Jenny realized her legs wouldn't move. None of them could move. They were completely paralyzed, stuck to the ground. Jenny said it felt like all the oxygen had been instantly sucked out of the atmosphere. They were gasping for air, unable to even let out a scream. As the light got closer, the entity finally revealed itself. It was a lion, but it was entirely white, and it was impossibly huge. Jenny said this thing was the size of a fully grown African bull elephant. Just an absolute monster. But it gets weirder. Flanking this giant lion, walking right beside it like literal bodyguards, were two massive impala deer. As soon as this giant lion approached, every single animal in that gathering, the elephants, the hyenas, the rhinos, bowed their heads down to the ground in total submission. The giant lion stepped up onto a large rock. The two impalas stood completely still on either side of it. Jenny and her team were still frozen, mute, unable to make a single sound. Jenny noticed the lion looked like it had been dipped in thick white paint. Its eyes were this piercing, unnatural, glowing yellow. And in the dead silence of the night, she noticed something else. The lion was soaking wet. Thick drops of water were falling from its fur, hitting the dry dirt. Drip, drip, drip. They could literally hear the water falling. The creature locked its glowing yellow eyes directly onto Jenny's team. It stared straight into their souls. But slowly the intense aggression in its eyes softened. The glowing yellow faded back to a normal color. It slowly turned its massive head and looked at the two impalas. It was a silent command, and in a split second, total darkness. The light vanished. The animals were gone. The giant lion was gone. It was just an empty, normal, pitch-black riverbed again. Before Jenny could even process what just happened, one of her assistants let out a blood-curdling, agonizing scream from the darkness. The paralysis wore off. Two of the other team members completely panicked and ran blindly into the dark to find him. They never came back. Jenny was shaking uncontrollably. She grabbed her walkie-talkie, frantically messaging base camp on their emergency channel. Nothing. Dead silence. The radios were completely jammed. Terrified to step any further into the dark, Jenny somehow managed to get the truck started and sped back to the main camp completely alone. When the sun came up, massive search parties scoured the area. They couldn't find the two missing men anywhere. The local police got involved and immediately took Jenny in for questioning. She sat in that room and told them exactly what she saw. But of course, the cops didn't believe a single word. They did eventually find the assistant who had screamed. He was found off to the side, alive, but badly injured. When the cops interrogated him separately, his story matched Jenny's exactly, down to the last detail. But the police didn't care. Instead of believing them, the cops accused Jenny and the injured survivor of murdering their two co-workers. 7 days later, the bodies of the two missing men were finally found. They were discovered 90 kilometers away from the dry riverbed. But here is the most chilling detail from the autopsy. Even after a week baking under the brutal African sun, their bodies had not decomposed at all. They had just dried out. The coroner found deep, bruising handprints around both of their necks. They were strangled to death by human hands, but there wasn't a single fingerprint. Whoever, or whatever, killed them was wearing gloves. Because of that evidence, Jenny and the survivor had no chance. They were found guilty and sentenced to 11 years in prison. While Jenny was locked in her cell, she had a dream one night. She saw an impala deer, the exact same kind she saw that night. The deer looked at her and spoke to her. It said, "You made a massive mistake. You will suffer the punishment for it, and your family will pay too." Not long after that dream, Jenny's entire family was driving in their personal car to visit her at the prison. They got into a horrific car accident. Every single one of them died. Jenny served her full 11 years. When she finally got out, she couldn't stand being in Kenya anymore. She fled to South Africa. Over the years, she has desperately searched for answers. She has sat down with priests, imams, exorcists, and shamans. She told them everything, but not a single spiritual leader could give her an explanation. Was it a demonic entity? An ancient skinwalker? A jinn that rules the wilderness? No one knows. No one could summon it, and no one could explain it. She lost her career, her freedom, and her entire family in the blink of an eye. That trauma literally eats her alive every single day. She lives her life completely alone, isolated, carrying this heavy burden. And the absolute tragic part? To this day, she still doesn't know what her actual crime was. She doesn't know who or what she saw out there in the dark. I mean, can you even imagine? We always talk about the mysteries of the deep woods, but the untamed jungles of Africa? There are ancient, terrifying things out there that we don't even have names for. Have you guys ever heard a story like this? It sounds like a dark Aesop's fable, but I promise you, this is a 100% true story. A massive thank you to Daisy for sending this in. We rarely get stories like this from different parts of the world. If Africa holds secrets like this, just imagine what's hiding right here in the US. A lot of people are too scared to share their paranormal experiences. But listeners, if you have a true spine-chilling story that happened to you, please write it down or record an audio clip and email it to us. Let me know what you guys thought of this entity down in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button, share this video, and stay safe out there. Good night and goodbye.